Black history they don't want you to know. The truth about black people and country music. We created it. It took about 400 years of the Middle Passage, work songs, field hollers, shouts, chants, spirituals, bloodshed, and sorrow to create what is known as blues music. There's no question that this genre, with African musical traditions such as call and response, and the bluing of the notes at its essence, is the DNA of American music. There would be no rock and roll or any of its offshoots without blues, and there definitely would be no country or bluegrass. A major example, the banjo, a key instrument in country music, originated in Africa. The banjo is uniquely African American. Originating in Africa, the banjo, also called banjar, banji, banjur, and banza, was created in the early 17th century by African captives and brought to America through the West Indies. The white man who popularized the banjo learned how to play it from slaves. Joel Sweeney, a white blackface minstrel performer and the earliest documented white banjo player, is responsible for popularizing the banjo, but he learned how to play it from slaves on a Virginia plantation, then standardized its construction, created a lesson book, and sold it. The banjo grew in stature worldwide thanks to minstrel shows, a wildly popular form of theater in the 19th century that stemmed from medicine shows, traveling theaters, and circuses, music halls, Irish music and dance, and African syncopation. With the explosive acclamation of Harriet Beecher Stowe's book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and the subsequent plays that followed it, vignettes, and Tom shows that recreated scenarios from the novel, minstrels eventually incorporated those storylines into its presentation, included the banjo for Southern authenticity, and brought this to an international audience for more than 100 years. Once phonographs came along in the early 20th century and segregated sound, it created categories along racial lines to market and sell music. The long-standing traditions that blurred those lines were virtually discarded. Country grew from a need to appease a Southern audience that had idealized the great cause in the wake of the Civil War. This played a major reason of how country music was whitewashed. During the Great Migration North, many black folk left the banjo, country music, and so many other African traditions in the South for a new life elsewhere. Yet, our influence in country and bluegrass music remains substantial in fundamental ways, most notably as a guiding force behind its brightest luminaries. Black musicians taught country music legends how to play. T. Tot Payne, a guitarist and street performer from Louisiana, was the only teacher and mentor to the legendary Hank Williams, teaching him passing chords and how to write songs. Musician Leslie Riddle befriended the Carter family, found and transcribed Negro spirituals for them, and gave them guitar lessons, thus establishing the bedrock of country music. Fiddler and guitarist Arnold Schultz, the son of a former slave, from a family of musicians and performers, played a role in the life of Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass. He gave him his first gig, introduced him to the House of Blues, and taught him a Kentucky thumb-style guitar technique that would make musician Chet Atkins famous. Bill Monroe said that Arnold Schultz was his best friend and always spoke of him fondly. Cultural appropriation at its finest. Now, how the banjo was also so thoroughly sanitized of its blackness is an analogy for the kind of cultural appropriation that has always defined America, now more than ever. The overwhelming African American contributions to country and bluegrass remain just beneath the surface for anyone that's willing to listen. Black history they don't want you to know.